Hey everyone! Today we're jumping into a huge theological debate, and we're using the fantastic book Four Views on Eternal Security as our guide. We're going to break down one of the most personal questions in Christianity, with four major thinkers going head-to-head. It's going to be great.
At the absolute heart of all this is one single high-stakes question. And look, this isn't just some dusty academic exercise. It's deeply personal, right? It touches on our assurance, our faith, and what we even mean by God's grace. The answer you land on here, well, it changes pretty much everything.
So, to make sense of it all, we're going to treat this like a title fight. First, we'll look at the two major camps, the two corners of the ring that these thinkers belong to. Then, we'll zoom right in to see the specific, and let me tell you, often sharp disagreements inside each camp. So, this entire debate is really built on the tension between two heavyweight theological traditions that have shaped Protestant thinking for centuries. You've got Calvinism and Arminianism. Okay, so on one side, you have the Calvinist tradition. They basically argue that a believer's security is totally grounded in God's sovereign power. He chooses and he preserves. End of story. But on the other side, the Arminian tradition really emphasizes that our security is conditional on our continued faith, which means, yeah, it's possible to fall away. But here's the thing, these big labels hide some really fiery internal disputes, so let's get into the details.
All right, let's dive into the Calvinist ring. Now, you might think everyone on this team would be in complete agreement, but they offer two very different foundations for why a believer is eternally secure.
The disagreement here is absolutely fascinating. You've got Michael Horton, the classical Calvinist, who grounds a believer's security in God's eternal, unconditional choice, a decision God made before time even began. From his perspective, the truly chosen simply cannot be lost. But then you have Norman Geisler, the moderate Calvinist. He grounds our security in the irreversible nature of our conversion. Once you're genuinely saved, you're always saved. The tension is so clear, right? Is security ultimately about God's work from eternity past, or is it based on a human decision made in time?
So, let's move to the other side of the ring and see what's happening on Team Arminian, because, well, it's also a house divided. They all agree salvation can be lost, but they disagree on a really crucial point: exactly how.
This slide just shows the nuance so perfectly. Stephen Ashby, who's called the Reformed Arminian, argues that salvation is lost only through a final, willful abandonment of faith. It's called apostasy. A simple sin won't do it. But for J. Stephen Harper, the Wesleyan Arminian, unconfessed mortal sin, we're talking a deliberate serious sin, that could also sever your relationship with God, though he's clear it can be regained through repentance.
Okay, this is where the gloves really come off. The format of this book lets the thinkers respond directly to each other, and woof, their critiques are sharp. It reveals the deep intellectual and theological stakes of this entire debate.
This is a heavyweight theological blow right here. Horton accuses Geisler of semi-Pelagianism, which in theological circles is a major historical heresy that gives way too much credit to human free will in salvation. By grounding security in a human decision, Horton is basically saying that Geisler has completely abandoned the core of Calvinism. He's essentially kicked him off the team. And here's an intellectual jab from the other side. Ashby, who's kind of the historical purist in this group, he basically tells Harper, hey, you're not representing your own tradition accurately. He claims that on some really key doctrines, the historical John Wesley actually moved away from the founder, Arminius, which creates all these theological tensions in his own system. Oh, but this is such a sharp and effective counterpunch. Harper points out that for all of Horton's talk about classical Calvinism, he never actually quotes John Calvin to support his very complex framework. Not once. It's a brilliant move that just makes you wonder, is Horton's view really representative of its own namesake?
So after all that theological sparring, we got to ask, why does any of this matter to anyone outside a seminary classroom? And the answer is that your view on eternal security directly impacts the way you live out your faith every single day.
I mean, these four views offer vastly different answers to some intensely practical questions. For example, can you actually know for sure that you're saved? Is your effort to live a good life a condition of staying saved, or is it just the evidence that you are saved? See? The way you answer these questions changes everything about how you relate to God.
Ultimately, the entire debate really boils down to this one fundamental question. Is your confidence found in something you did in the past, a decision you made that can't be undone? Or is it found in the sovereign power of God, who promised to keep those he has chosen? The four thinkers in this book give us so much to consider, and they leave us to wrestle with where our own confidence truly lies.